I'm Alan Kersner. I'm a faculty here in the management department, academic director for the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Institute, and director of Temple University. Director of Temple University. Temple University Entrepreneurship Academy. And that was formed 7 years ago with the goal of enhancing entrepreneurial thinking and doing throughout all 17 colleges within Temple University. And today's social impact program is one of the initiatives of the Academy. So today we will be switching. Okay, we'll be hearing from 4 undergraduates who have identified societal ills or issues which they are passionate about and have developed proposed solutions to address those ills. After the undergrads, we'll be hearing from 4 upper track people, and that includes grad students, alumni, staff, and faculty. And these 8 finalists were evaluated as the best ideas out of 63 submissions from 8 colleges across Temple University. So you're seeing the creme de la creme? Is that the way to phrase it? Okay, so today's program is basically the culmination of 4 months of work. And an initiative like the Changemaker Challenge requires a lot of dedication from a lot of people. So the first group that I would like to cite is our Social Impact Planning Committee. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot about you, Morgan. So after the 8 presentations, when these 3 judges go off to deliberate, we are very lucky to hear from a serial social entrepreneur and a gold medalist in what? Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Jiu-Jitsu, Ms. Morgan Berman. So you'll be able to hear from her and you'll be amazed at all she's accomplished and her energy. So the committee I was speaking about, it features representatives from the Office of Sustainability and several schools. One of our members, Bryce Fories, is here. Bryce, stand up, take a bow. And several of the other committee members are watching on YouTube right now. When people submit their ideas, they benefit from hearing and getting mentored by pitch coaches. So here's our distinguished group of pitch coaches. And then every submission also gets evaluated by 4 independent evaluators. And as you could see, we have several. So I'd like to thank all 3 of these groups for their hard work and their dedication to helping our participants really give their ideas the best shot today. Okay, so now I believe we have our distinguished judges. So in this corner are 3 people who have really made a difference within Temple, within the surrounding community, and even nationwide. So Dr. Amy Giddings is a department chair in STHM, the School of Sport, Tourism, and Hospitality Management, and also a serial entrepreneur. Amy, say hello. Dr. Valerie Harrison is Temple's Vice President for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and a special advisor to the president. Sylvester Mobley founded Coded by Kids, which is a technology education service for the youth originally around the Philadelphia area, correct? And now it's expanded. And currently he has founded Pitchlight Capital, Plainsight Capital, sorry, which is basically an accelerator, an incubator. It's not an incubator. Oh, okay. Sorry. It is a venture capital firm. I mixed up all the things you're doing. Okay, so a venture capital firm. And with that, next. So, as you listen to everyone's presentations today, you get to select the presentation which you believe is the absolute best. And so scan the code. At the end of all the presentations, we will count up who has the most votes, and that individual who wins the People's Choice Prize will get a $500 cash reward. Oh, now people are taking out their cameras and scanning. Okay, so with that, we are going to start the show, and we're going to start with our undergraduate presentations. And first up is Ari Tamashiro.
Hi everyone, my name is Ari Tamashiro and this is Beauty Birds. We are a cosmetics community service organization. I was recently talking to a refugee photographer and she asked me, what is the #1 thing that girls wanted most from her bag? Initially, I didn't know why she was asking me this. And then she told me it was her makeup. Wanting to indulge in self-care is a universal human desire. And this is exactly what Beauty Birds does for its stakeholders. So we start with beauty brands who will donate products and in turn get brand awareness. Those products are then utilized by university students who learn how to apply cosmetics on others, and then they utilize those newfound skills to provide free products and services to local schools, as well as women re-entering the workforce. Over the past 6 years, the percentage of girls who feel confident has dropped from 68 to 55%. Cosmetics affect you in so many different areas in your life, and for example, there are studies by Harvard and UC Davis that prove a link between self-esteem, wearing makeup, increased long-term success, as well as increased academic performance. Beyond that, there is a study of 14,000 women that prove that wearing makeup to work, the women that are wearing it are paid more on average, and that is known as the grooming gap. So why does this matter? Well, self-care should not only be accessible to the well-off, and I'm here to advocate for anyone who felt ashamed for wanting access to these products because they are not seen as a physiological need. So the solution is an organization that functions like a product awareness vehicle. We start here with the donors, and then the mission is executed by the Beauty Bird members who are participating in immersive product distribution in the form of training. That is further brought to distribution in the community through free products and services. Taking a deeper dive into what our stakeholders have already received, we have the beauty brands who are getting access to a market that has already proven to have a bias towards their brands. Beauty Bird members, which are university students, are getting access to cosmetic and creative skills as well as professional opportunities. And finally, the community deems this as something so important that every single school we have been to has, 1, invited us back, and 2, allowed their students to miss classes just to attend these events. To build on that, we have our testimonies that talk about how special the students felt. And also, the Dress for Success members felt so special, they left with a sense of empowerment and a useful set of tools. We are sustainable because we are backed by major brands and membership dues. And finally, in comparison to similar organizations, we are the only one that has continuous training and events and taps into the college market. So to leave you with one thought, beauty brands are already trying to get into colleges. We are a vessel for access and a catalyst to empower the community. Thank you so much. I'll take questions. No worries.
So can you explain a little bit more about this, the financial model that you have?
Yeah, let me go back to that slide if that helps. So the majority of our donations are cosmetic donations. These are a few of the brands that have donated to us. We have major brands that are looking to get on board, and then Beauty Bird members pay $20 per semester or $35 per year to participate in the club. The majority of our donations are from benefactors though. Actually, last semester, we just brought benefits campus for the first time, which we work directly with their headquarters. So we are bringing new brands also into Temple University beyond like what we're doing with Beauty Birds.
Can you tell me a little bit about the part of your program that helps those re-entering the workforce? And I know some of your work has been inside of schools, but what about for adult women who are re-entering?
Yeah, so we do like to work with schools, but also we've worked with Dress for Success, and that was more of a training event, so showing them work-friendly makeup and walking them through it one-on-one. It's better than a tutorial where you're watching a video because you get that instant feedback. So we brought them products and we brought in artists to kind of walk them through how to apply work-friendly makeup. And then we did also invite them to the event with Benefit so they could enjoy. Benefit came to teach us how to do eyebrows and talk about opportunities at the company.
Tell us a little bit, again, you said there was research that those who wear makeup in the workplace, we need to wear more makeup and we get a raise. So
Yeah.
actually make more money.
So it's kind of like if I was standing up here in sweats, like I would be perceived very different. It's the way that you're presenting yourself. This was done by UC Irvine. They tested 14,000 individuals and they found that the ones that are wearing makeup are getting paid higher. And then there's another study at Harvard which found they took a control group, so wearing makeup, not wearing makeup, listening to positive music. They all had the same multiple choice test, and the group wearing makeup tested significantly higher.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, next up is Maria Sharman.
Thank you. Oh, okay.
Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Maria Sharman, and today I'm presenting Helping Hearts of Youth, also known as HHOY. So this is an idea I had my senior year of high school. I was very stressed out and I was very depressed. And I went to my mom and I asked her, hey mom, can you give me a therapist? And she goes, what is that? No, we can't get you that. Mind you, my mom is an immigrant, so she's very against mental health. And so that's when I knew I wanted to create this nonprofit to help youth who are going through mental health challenges and issues. So I wanted to share some statistics with you guys about mental health, and 15% of teens suffered a major depressive episode in the past year, and 60 of teens with depression did not get treatment, and then suicide is the second leading cause of death of youth. So just by the statistics, you can see how prevalent this issue is and why we need to address this issue, and this is why HHOY is here. So what is HHOY? HHOY is a nonprofit in Washington, D.C., and what we do among teens is build awareness of mental health issues and destigmatize seeking treatment to leverage existing mental health resources. HHOY also aims to use these resources to provide free therapy for teenagers. We hope to deliver HHOY by utilizing church spaces for the program, and then we also hope to use mental health nonprofits resources, volunteers, and support. We then hope to use evaluation and feedback for effectiveness of the nonprofit and use data metrics and retention rates to see if the nonprofit is good and if the youth like it. And so for funding, we have three major funding sources. One is government grants, the next is fundraising events and individual donors, and we hope to have established relationship with these donors so that they can continue giving us their support and help. And then partnerships with churches, philanthropic foundations, high schools, and local nonprofits dedicated to mental health. Here are a few competitors that we have. So first is school counselors and private therapy. Although these are great resources, school counseling can be a bit hard to go to because it's not personalized, and then private therapy is also just expensive, and sometimes teens just don't feel comfortable asking their parent for mental health support. Now we're going to get into the challenges. So the first one is gaining awareness and trust within the outreach. We have to make sure to have a proper outreach and marketing strategy. So we will do this by using social media, local events, schools, and presentations. The next challenge is funding and resources. So we hope to get adequate funding source, and it is a nonprofit, so that might be a bit difficult. So it's just a test and trial. And then finding potential partners to discuss collaborations and developing partnership agreements, and then seeing if we're accessible with these nonprofits and the churches we're working with. And that is it for my presentation. Thank you guys so much.
All right, here we go. How many people do you think you would be able to serve in a typical year, and then how would you scale it to more people from there?
I hope to have like partnership with like 5 leading high schools in Washington, D.C. And so it'd probably be like 300 to 400 students. 300 is like the aim that we're going for. And then what was your second question again?
From that 300 to 400, how would you scale? What would you need to do to grow that number to help more people?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, the marketing outreach. So we hope to go to these high schools and give like proper presentations to the students and just make HHOY seem like a very non-judgmental area where they can come and join. So we hope to have good outreach, and that's how.
Hi, thank you. I'd like to know a little bit more. Have you reached out to any health insurance providers? So for example, if any of these young people, their families do have health insurance, have you reached out to any of those providers to coordinate with some of the services that you'd like to offer?
Yeah, no, I haven't. This is just like a pilot non-profit, but I hope to look into that when I do start this idea in the future.
Thank you so much for this. In terms of the provision of counseling, who would be your counselors? I know you identified competitors. So who would be your typical counselors for the therapists for the teens?
Yeah, so who would be like giving them the support?
Are they volunteers,
Yeah.
or they, okay, so they would be volunteer therapists who would be providing services for
Yeah, and also the nonprofits that I'm working with. So they'll probably have like providers that they know of, so it's easier to get into contact with them.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Next is Taylor.
Hello, my name is Taylor Vecchione, and this is NARPort. In 2021, there were over 100,000 opioid overdoses in the United States. 46% of those deaths had a bystander present. So what can these bystanders do to help prevent these overdoses? Well, they can carry Narcan. Narcan is between 75 to 100% effective at preventing an overdose. So why don't more people carry Narcan? Well, stigma and accessibility are 2 of those main reasons. Stigma, because people have this misconception that if they carry Narcan themselves, that others will believe that they're users. And accessibility, because there's no real easy way to carry Narcan unless it was just loose in a bag or loose in a backpack. So this is why I created NARPort. NARPort revolutionizes the way that we carry and access Narcan, giving individuals an opportunity to be prepared in the face of an opioid crisis. It's the most concealable and accessible option. As you'll see here on the left, the silicone covering covers any Narcan branding, so nobody would know that you're carrying Narcan. At the bottom, you'll see a little loop. It can attach to a lanyard, bag, wherever you see fit. Up top, you'll see how it compares to the size of a house key and a car key. It's a little bit smaller than a car key and a little bit bigger and heavier than a house key. On the right-hand side, you'll also notice that at the top and the bottom, there's openings. So if you ever did need to use this in an emergency, you don't need to replace or take your Narcan out of the Narport holder in order to use it. This is Narport versus our current solutions. So yes, some of these are attachable and some of them are concealable if you were to get rid of the naloxone or Narcan branding, but none of them compare to the small size and lightweight that Narport would be. As for the stakeholder impacts, the 18 to 25-year-old age group is most at risk. You see, they're the biggest misusers of prescription drugs for non-medical purposes. They're also the least likely age group to be informed, and additionally, they also are the biggest users of counterfeit pills. With fentanyl being on such a rise the past 5 years, it just makes this age group very at risk. They're also, young drug users. We want to make sure that we can target them at a young age so that they don't become lifelong drug users. Also, the USA consumes 80% of the world's opioids, so this is a very pressing issue for our country. As far as unknowns, is the design patentable? And would Narcan want to sell this alongside their nasal sprays? I would actually want to sell this company to Narcan because I believe that if the consumer were to open up this package and see Narport, it would be their first instinct as to how to carry and use the product. As far as global impact, obviously, opioid abuse is not confined to the United States. It's a very worldwide issue, and Narcan is not just sold in the United States. Additionally, the silicone covering could also be used for other medications and other things that want to be used on a day-to-day and portable basis. Thank you.
Thank you. Why this? Why were you excited about this, passionate about this? Like, where did you get this idea from?
So I just heard a lot about the fentanyl overdoses and how rampant it's become. And I had thought of, how people carry pepper spray on keychains and other life-saving materials. And I thought, it could be better used. Not many people carry Narcan. And if they do, it's in a bag. So I just thought that this would be a more portable, easy way to carry it.
What type of research did you do with potential customers/users for this?
So this really just started as an idea. So in terms of the design, I thought of how hand sanitizers were carried, and in terms of people that might use it, I'd reach out to addiction centers and try and probably donate the product first, stuff like that. But as of right now, it's really in the early stages. Thank you.
So rounding out the undergrad track is Rashmi Papa.
Hello everyone, I am Rashmi Thapa. I am an international student from Nepal and the co-founder of Sangalo Nepal. Our mission is to help low-income students by providing them with mentorship and better access to resources. As you can see in these pictures, that is me from about 4 years ago in one of our project sites. We started this as a high school social service club, and we've worked with over 200 students till now. We want to make this even bigger, and we currently also have a team working in Nepal. Over 65%, that is the number of students who drop out by the time they reach grade 12 in Nepal. The high dropout rates, along with the financial affordability, is a big barrier to education for a lot of students. The law itself only mandates education till the 8th grade, so a lot of students are dropping out after that to support their families and to pursue something else. Even if a student wants to do further education, they cannot do it due to English being a barrier in a lot of places. This is because a lot of small villages don't have that good level of exposure to English, and a lot of students have to migrate to other places to get further education. Currently, NGOs are partly solving this problem, but it's not being solved to its most efficient way because their models are not sustainable. They will usually dump resources and never really follow up with the schools. This is where we come in. Our solution is a lot more sustainable, and it focuses on an end-to-end development for students. We want to provide students with materials for learning throughout their academic year. We want to make sure they have access to these resources at all times. We also want to tutor these students English so that they can go out there and compete with peers in better and bigger schools. Looking at the overall cost of this, the materials will cost about $70 per year per student. Looking at English tutoring, which will be done in classrooms of about 25 students, this will cost about $150. We will focus on 3 main revenue streams. The first will be our Sponsor a Child program, through which no matter where you are in the world, you can sponsor a child. The second will be our fundraisers, which we have done in the past, through which people in private schools and the community in mostly cities also participate in a student's progress. And finally, a little bit of it will also be grants and donations. The market is very big. There are over 26,000 schools that are public in Nepal. The private schools are currently valued at about $170 million. So this is a growing market where there can be a lot of impact made. With your help, we will be able to impact students directly. Within a year, their families will realize these impacts. Within a few years, the schools will be able to see how their students are progressing. Finally, the community will prosper because they will be able to look at the poverty rates declining eventually in a matter of a few years. Thank you so much for listening to me. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy.
Thank you so much. So you said access to resources at the beginning. So tell us a little bit about what's in the box. What kind of materials would you be sending to
Of course. So a lot of students, education is mostly free in public schools, but they still need to buy things like notebooks, pens, pencils, uniforms. So that is what we want to focus on. So something small does not restrict them.
In terms of the tutoring, who would provide the tutoring, and would the resources that you're raising pay the cost, or are they volunteer?
So for tutoring, we will have someone who knows English really well. Yes. So hopefully an English teacher from somewhere in the city. And we're also providing them with a very fair wage, because $12 per hour is way above the minimum wage in Nepal. So that is what we want to do.
What is the general interest level, do you think, of the students to want to learn English, to want to have this sort of intervention with the education materials in Nepal?
Thank you for the question. Currently, the awareness regarding education is very high. Most people in low-income households are reliant on things like agriculture or labor, like construction and things like that, but they want to send their children to schools, but they are not able to because they just don't have the resources. So when we have worked with students, we've seen a lot of positive attitude and a willingness to learn. So definitely there is a lot we can do. Thank you.
Do it finally. With any of those presentations, you can vote it as your favorite. We have 4 more presentations coming up. So we're going to now hear from our 4 upper track. There will be one that is just. 2 will be presenting live, should say in person, and because of last-minute job-related travel requirements, 2 will be appearing via Zoom. So we are going to start with Brave and Linda Alumni.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Linda Alunkel, founder and CEO of Bite Brave. I'm sure some of us in this room are either living with food allergies or have cared for a child with food allergies. You know intimately that this disease takes away that joy from those special moments. And what I'm going to talk about today is Bite Brave's mission is to prevent food allergies from ever happening in children. I'm going to introduce you the other way to my little one. This is Benji, my youngest. He was born with 10 different food allergies, and we've had to epi him 4 times already. We've had to save his life 4 times, and he's only 6. I didn't get the chance to prevent Benji's allergies, but I did get the chance to help other children. 3.7 million babies are born each year in the United States, of which 1 in 13 will develop a preventable food allergy. And you ask, how in the world did this happen? Back in 2000, pediatricians were saying, don't introduce allergenic foods until 1, 2, 3 years of age. In 2015, a clinical trial essentially overturned that and said you need to introduce in that 4 to 6 month window early and often. 2019, however, it took 4 years for that guideline to change. Unfortunately, the damage was done. 70 million children were impacted, of which translates after diagnosis, which I'm living every year, $5,000 per family. Emergency room visits, EpiPen costs. The cost for allergenic-free foods is nuts. But what it also did is parents are deathly afraid now to introduce allergenic foods because of horror stories like mine. Pediatricians, to the best of their intention, just do not have time. But for a second, why did this clinical trial work? To demonstrate 80% reduction of that clinical outcome required perfect harmony of each one of these three things here listed. Bite Brave mirrors the clinical robustness of that clinical trial, and it takes it up a level to a human element and holds their hand, the family's hand, by empowering them with education and awareness, and also how. How do we do this? How do we prevent this allergy? For those of us that have children, you remember how incredibly hard that first year was. Couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't do a lot of things, let alone trying to remember to do this. So we spoon feed and take the guesswork out of it by delivering a system to the door, complemented with a digital health platform that supports, educates, and holds their hand through that journey. The current solution is that pediatricians give parents a sheet of paper at the 6-month well visit. It says, introduce allergenic foods. Good luck. That's not good enough. So my team, I am an 8-year food allergy mom. I am a chemical engineer by training with an MBA from Fox. And I also spent the last 10 years at Johnson & Johnson, specifically the last 4, learning about this disease. We are guided by a very strong advising team, strategic, medical, and academic advising team. All of us, or most of us, have over 20 years of expertise in our craft. What we've done to date, I've done a proof of concept study that has demonstrated desirability. And we've also developed a social media presence with a provisional patent filed as well for the system you saw. This year, our focus is to use existing behavioral design frameworks and develop an MVP and be able to launch that for 500 local families. In order to fund this MVP, I'm in partnership with Drexel University, submitting a culture grant, and have gotten the green light for the USDA SBIR Phase 1. So please join me in protecting those moments of joy and be able to help families like this one and have a next generation of healthy Temple University students. Thank you. Oh, sorry, questions. Hi. Okay.
I don't know why I'm trying to use this. Okay. The first thing that comes to mind for me is risk, right? So you're doing a subscription service to families. What happens if they don't follow the right pattern that you set, or their child does develop some sort of allergen?
Sure.
You know, how are you managing for that?
Sure. So I've talked to an insurance broker for this, and we're going as far as medical malpractice. But then also the situation is parents are going to introduce allergenic foods to their baby at one point in their life. They're going to sign a waiver before they come into our program. So there's a full legal waiver, consent waiver that they're going to come in. And with that waiver is going to say there is a risk that your child, no matter what we do, could develop food allergies. So a combination between insurance, having that waiver, and then being able to help them throughout that journey. 911, I say that I complement medical care. I am not going to replace medical care. Yep.
So would health insurance pay for this?
Yes. So from a scaling standpoint, my go-to-market right now is direct-to-consumer to learn. But I'm also talking to global multinationals for another B2B scale, and then the last one is payer and pediatricians for reimbursement.
Do the services also include coordination with dietitians and the other partners? So part of the subscription may include a level of guidance from them.
Correct. Yep. So dietitians, I already have dietitians on the team through a 1099, but the hope is that I can expand beyond just dietitians for whatever else the family needs. Yeah. Sure.
I just have one more question. It seems like your team is pretty heavy on like health, pharma, like that kind of space, but you're going to market with a product. What are the gaps that you have in your team right now?
So from understanding new mom psyche, and I think from a parental psychology and And if you draw the analog to Noom, right, the reason why they were so successful for weight loss is around behavior psychology. So what I'm trying to now design, and with the USDA and also with Drexel, is how do I really understand new mom's psyche to get her to act? What does she care about? And really that's what my MVP needs to be based off of. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, next up is Calvin Shum.
Good evening. I'm Calvin Shum, the founder of E-Lasting Energy. We manufacture glass and windows that produce solar energy. The reason we need it now is because of not just global warming, but now global boiling. This is a problem all around the world because we're experiencing unprecedented disasters at all-time highs, and it's because we are at record-breaking greenhouse gas levels as well as ocean heat. So the largest source of emissions and energy consumption comes from buildings. It's about 40% of the problem, and this holds true in the US as well. And where the problem lies also is that global real estate is going to double by 2060, meaning we're going to add a New York City every single month for the next 40 years. If our current levels aren't sustainable, what about double? Where the problem lies also lies hidden in plain sight, the solution. What if we said there's a solution now that we could put in effect? That's what solar glass from E-Lasting Energy does. It's a building integrated photovoltaic, and it generates clean renewable energy right from the windows. And the way we do that is our proprietary technology takes the invisible light and converts it into energy, not the visible light. That's how it's clear. Then imagine all the skyscrapers, all the windows right here. Imagine that's creating solar energy in highly densely urban populations where there isn't space for it. All this could be a source of energy production rather than consumption. It removes it as fossil fuels and gives it a clean, renewable source. This is profitable for business owners, especially real estate. Imagine all these commercial spaces with high vacancies that they could be generating energy. It's beneficial for architects and developers who can market to a more premium certification, as well as occupancy well-being. Now, this is already in production in markets abroad. So in Australia and Spain, they have this actually out in the market. In the US, it's still in R&D and pilot stages. That's why we want to double down our space right now. And the way that we're going to launch faster is we are already partnered with the Department of Energy, with NASA, and with the national laboratories to build and launch the next generation photovoltaic technology. Our differentiator is that we're going to be fully integrated or vertically integrated from glass, windows, and solar. And we're offering not just the solar, but the entire systems that support it. So that's what buildings need. That's what real estate owners want. And whereas all our other competitors are specialized in scientific research, we're really optimizing on our merger and acquisition skill sets, our sales and sales optimization. We're the team to deliver. I did solar at Tesla, built products at JP Morgan Chase and IBM. Greg, our CTO, is the best technologist I've ever met. He built HVAC system, IT networking, a Jeep from scratch. Pepe's built 2 companies on his own, and we're already on track. So your pre-seed funding today will grow into empower the future tomorrow now. Thank you.
I'm sorry, so everyone can hear you.
Okay, so I think I might have missed it in the beginning. So when you talk about the growth of buildings, are you speaking specifically to residential, commercial, or a mix?
Both.
Okay.
All around the world, it's like double. And most of it comes from emerging markets. A lot of them, there's still real estate to be built.
Right. So a residential consumer could access this.
We're going to target the commercial space first.
Okay.
There is an opportunity in the residential as well.
Okay, great.
It's just Architectural glass is larger. It's just
Sure.
more windows.
Right.
What do you see as your biggest challenge in getting this to market?
Building the right recipe. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. Just packaging the right product and launching it and building all the services around it. So the key is product management, and that's what Pepe and I have been doing for the past 10 years.
This seems very capital intensive to start. So what's your plan for raising the capital needed to
So
get it
I'm going to
going?
do MMA, as mentioned. We're going to do, so I do private equity, and what we're doing is microcap. We're buying glass and window manufacturers so that we're using the cash flow from that to fuel the R&D for the next product line. Thank you.
Okay, so our next presenter who will join us on the big screen is Alexander Sanders.
All right, hello. Are you able to hear me? Hello? Hello? Okay, all right. I'm sorry. How you doing, everybody? My name is Alexander Sanders, and I am the CEO and founder of UFarmX and a proud product of Temple University's Fox School of Business. UFarmX was founded in 2019 and actually began as a 100-acre organic commercial farm in Oyo State, Nigeria, and has since evolved into a tech platform that leverages both AI and blockchain technologies to empower farmers on the continent of Africa, connecting them to vital resources needed to increase their productivity and guaranteed markets for off-taking. As of today, over 90% of the farmers in sub-Saharan Africa lack access to institutional finance. This essentially keeps them in a perpetual cycle of poverty, preventing them from being able to scale up to commercial-sized farmers. This is due to a myriad of reasons, such as lack of a standardized credit scoring system and the informal business practices of the farmers where there is no focus on record keeping. Also, yet having nearly 70% of the arable land left on the planet, farmer yields on the continent of Africa are abysmal, producing 11 times less per acre in comparison to their North American farmer counterparts. And in terms of traceability, it is all but non-existent. For example, in the Western world, if there's an outbreak of disease such as salmonella, there's a system in place to trace it back to its source. And in the markets that we deal in currently in Africa, being Nigeria and Senegal, such a system is not developed yet. So as a company, UFarmX is set out to not only close the yield gap, but also provide transparency and traceability along the agricultural supply chain, while autonomously assisting farmers with formalizing informal business practices, all in pursuit of food security. This is how UFarmX works. Essentially, the way that we work is in 5 stages. The initial stage is farmer onboarding. So what happens is community-based local agents interface directly with our technology, and they collect roughly 20 to 30 data points on each individual farmer, including photograph and GPS location. This allows us to create an individual portfolio for each farmer, and then also to identify the challenges that these farmers are facing. The next stage of the process is AI analysis. So during the AI analysis stage, a customized agri-input package is put together and QR coded based on the challenges and needs of the individual farmer. The next stage is market assurance. UFarmX secures purchase orders preemptively before farmers even begin planting, and all of this is being journaled the entire time on our blockchain ledger system transparently. The next stage is resource allocation. During the resource allocation stage, UFarmX leverages strategic partnerships throughout the entire supply chain from seed to sale to both benefit and empower the farmers on our platform. An example of a strategic partnership that we utilize is our strategic partnership with a company called Africa Green Tech. Africa Green Tech manufactures solar-powered refrigerated containers, and those containers are used for post-harvest storage. The benefit of this is that currently in Senegal, farmers lose roughly 45 to 50% of their produce due to lack of access to these post-harvest storage facilities. So this allows us to provide value proposition that farmers can tangibly see, visibly see, tangibly feel, and then it also assists us in promoting integrity on our platform. And then lastly is our outcome phase. During the outcome phase is when we do the revenue distribution. And throughout this entire process, everything has been journaled automatically from seed to sale. Also to note, the way that our revenue streams work is, one, we generate revenue initially from the sale of inputs. Two, we get a profit share from the purchase order secured. And then three, we generate income with our strategic partners. This allows us to generate revenue independent of farmer outcomes. Therefore, if a farmer is unsuccessful during their harvest, we still remain viable as a business. And there's two future revenue streams that we're working on, one being the monetization of the data itself. And then two, we're working on a methodology to calculate the reduction in carbon emissions that farmers receive through the adoption of our climate smart solutions, allowing farmers to monetize the carbon credits due and then redistributing them to open markets. In terms of impact, UFarmX has completed 3 pilots across 2 different countries with over 1,300 farmers onboarded. We've demonstrated the ability to increase farmer yields by 300% simply by connecting them to quality resources needed for production and creating an ecosystem of support around them. And this is an example of a farmer story with a farmer named Lay. Initially, before onboarding onto UFarmX, he was producing 5 bags of maize and selling for $900. And then after receiving our suite of solutions, he was able to produce 14 bags and more than doubling his revenue. Thank you. This is our team, as you can see, and our advisors. And then by scaling climate action, the impact across the continent, UFarmX aims to not only solve the problems of today, but also build the foundation for the future of farming. Thank you.
Alex, thank you so much. Could you address, you talked about the farmer onboarding. How are you identifying the farmers to be a part of this project?
Okay, exactly. So we utilize local community-based local agents. That allows us to, one, identify the demand for our solutions, but then it also allows us to group the demand. So these local-based operatives are incentivized because, one, they're bringing supportive infrastructure to their local communities, but then they also generate revenue along our financial model. They get 7% of the produce of the farmers that they oversee as local agents.
Thank you.
Okay, and our finalist, final upper track presenter, live from Florida, is Ismael Kamara.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Hello, my name is Ishmael Kamara, and this is The Light Providers. There are millions of U.S. consumers with family members abroad who have unreliable access to artificial light. I'm one of them. My family members back in Sierra Leone, along with millions of others across the globe, suffer through constant blackouts. No one wants their family to live in darkness. Blackouts occur 3 or more times a week and last several hours. Kids can't study, security is compromised, video calls with loved ones aren't possible in darkness. Traditional lights fail during a blackout. Candles are a fire hazard. Kerosene lamps are toxic. Generators are expensive. I gave a wireless solar outdoor light to my aunt who lives in Sierra Leone. She didn't use it like I expected. She put the solar light out during the day to charge and brought it inside at night during blackouts. Since it was a motion sensor light, her 3-year-old grandson ran back and forth to the light in order to keep it on. I figured there had to be a better solution on the market. However, constantly buying disposable batteries and rechargeable light bulbs that only last 3 to 4 hours didn't make sense for my aunt. Through a National Science Foundation program, my team member in Sierra Leone and I interviewed potential users, NGOs, and nonprofits. Currently, we have a dozen users in Sierra Leone testing different commercial lights. Watts of Love provides a small, wearable, personal light, and Luminate caters to outdoor enthusiasts with camping lanterns. Both organizations donate to people with no access to electricity. We stand out by addressing a specific need, households with unreliable electricity. Unlike our competitors, our product is designed to maintain the same brightness level as traditional lights during a blackout, ensuring consistent illumination for those living on an erratic electrical grid. Current solutions lack a personal touch. They're donations without connections. We're changing this. Our target is directly connected to the user, U.S. consumers with family members living on an unreliable electrical grid. Over 4 million U.S. consumers fit this profile. Our light is designed for users on an unreliable electrical grid in 3 ways. 1, it seamlessly transitions to battery power during blackouts. 2, users can easily swap in spare batteries, extending usage time. And 3, the light's batteries can be charged via a solar panel located outside the home, providing an additional energy source when power is out for several days. With these innovative features, our light guarantees users a consistent and reliable illumination source. U.S. customers can buy our lights and send them globally. We'll partner with local businesses to create light agents. Customers can purchase a light online and share the order number with their family member, who can use the number to redeem a light from a local agent. Agents can repair lights, fostering job creation and building connections in the regions we serve. We'll pilot in Sierra Leone, and leveraging Western Union's network of agents will expand based on lessons learned, targeting countries like Zambia and India. To launch and gain scale, we will white label a combination of products that meet 75% of the needs while we develop an optimal product. This will test our business model, uncover unknowns, validate assumptions, and generate revenue. We're not a business waiting for a product to launch. We're a business in action. So who wants to be a light provider and help bring consistent lighting to every part of the world? Together, we can end light poverty once and for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Ishmael. Ishmael, what do you see as your greatest challenge in moving your project forward?
So yeah, I think the greatest challenge would be, one is kind of the logistics of getting it there. So that's kind of why we emphasize the light agents. But most of the people, if you already kind of send lights or send products to your family members, they already may know how to ship, but still that may be a challenge where someone may say, hey, I want to send a light, but I don't have, maybe I don't have enough stuff to put. For example, when you send to when my family members send stuff back, they put it in a barrel. So maybe just putting one light in a barrel is not enough to ship a whole barrel. So they might have to wait till they gather stuff. So I believe that could be a challenge. But also when I did this last shipment, there's a company that's doing like a startup, and they're actually using being able to use cargo planes. There are personal planes to be able to ship stuff. So that I found that to be an easy process. So I believe it's a challenge, but I believe it can be overcome.
So for those family members already using it, what has been their personal experience thus far?
So they got it last week, and the personal experience was those commercial products, they were saying that for them, having that light, especially when they first got it, they put it on and they said that allowed them to stay up longer at night. Because generally, if it's a blackout, it's dark, there's no power, they would usually just go to sleep early. They're like, when we got the light, we ended up staying later because they're like, now we have like a light to actually they said they were just even sitting around the light because like, well, now we can just stay up later. So that was for me something that I found to be just beneficial and kind of prove why it's needed.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so that concludes our presentations for today. So as the judges get ready to go off to the room and deliberate and choose grand prize winners, first place, second place, I'd like to introduce, I forgot the People's Choice. Okay, People's Choice Award. If you haven't already voted for your favorite presentation, now is the time to do it. So do it in the next Couple minutes, because then we'll shut down that poll. And with that, I would invite the judges to go over where Mr. Howard Brown is. And I will join you shortly. And now I would like to introduce the Managing Director of the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Institute, and also my boss. I'm not sure which of those titles is most challenging for her, Michelle Histon.
Is it on now? Can you guys hear me? Okay, I don't even need a mic. Hi guys, thanks for coming out on a rainy yet warm day. Weird weather, right? Climate change. So we're so excited to see you here. We are going to hear from one of my favorite people in Philadelphia who's super cool. Maria Merman, come on down. Don't do a jujitsu move on me though. I think we're gonna sit up here. I'm gonna do this one. Okay. And I think we're gonna climb up on this stage.
You want me looking at you from both directions or the same direction? I can
I want you leaning down on me, so I will hang out here. Okay. So guys, we wanted to. Hello. Yeah. Okay. We wanted to spend this time while the judges are deliberating, hearing from somebody who's had so much social impact in Philadelphia and in our region. Morgan is a serial entrepreneur, but always social impact focused, which is so amazing. So, and maybe the only person who's busier than I feel. So, I mean, yeah, it's kind of wild. So you're gonna hear about all the things she does. So we'll start with, there are so many. We'll start with your day job, right? So by day, you are the executive director of Life Science Cares Philadelphia. So maybe just give everybody a bit about what that is and what you do there.
Absolutely. So Life Science Cares is a national network of 5 affiliates. I run the Philadelphia chapter, and what we do in our individual cities is we are engaging the life science sector, the human and financial capital that they possess, and bringing that to bear on poverty in the cities that we operate in. There's this kind of blossoming life science sector here in Philadelphia, and this pernicious poverty issue in Philadelphia. And what we're trying to do is bring the expertise and resources of the life science sector to bear. So we do that in 3 programmatic ways: a grant program, volunteer engagement, and then we run a program called On-Ramp, where we place low-income students into paid internships at life science companies. And yes, if you are interested and currently an undergraduate, come see me, because we have job openings right now. So we do paid summer internships for low-income students at life science companies as like our 3rd kind of programmatic thing that we do.
Which is so hugely impactful, right? Because so many people don't have access to those kinds of opportunities, and it can entirely change your trajectory in your life. So I think good for you all to know about those kinds of opportunities. Also, can you talk about how you got into that work? Because I think for a lot of folks listening, right, like they're interested in social impact and making a difference. So some of that is doing it through the nonprofit space. So just talk about how you got into Life Science Cares.
Yeah, so my first company, Milk Crate, it went through several pivots, as many of your companies will as well. And where it ended up over the last 6 years is we build mobile apps for nonprofits and other mission-driven organizations that want to engage, communicate with, and track program participants. So the clients that you're serving, or even volunteers that you're engaging, we make customizable white-labeled mobile apps for those programs. And I had this brilliant, I thought, business strategy where I was going to reach out to funders, the philanthropists, the foundations who were funding these nonprofits, and say, wouldn't you love to help your nonprofits, your grantees, better engage with and communicate the people that they're serving, and be able to actually track their participation in the program and their progress in it? So many of these programs have like a curriculum where you're supposed to check in, chat with a mentor, answer surveys, complete tasks, log hours doing something, things like that. And the app could be the place where they could do all of that. And in my mind, I thought philanthropists would love to fund something like this. So I talked to hundreds of funders, and I got like 1.5 of them to say yes. And I was really disappointed by that. And I learned a lot about the philanthropy world, a lot of things I didn't like about it along the way. And after 8+ years of growing a business and not paying myself very well and being really frustrated with it, I decided, you know what? I have this COO who seems really excited about the business. I'm going to let him run it. And I, with basically, reached out to a friend who was a headhunter, and I didn't even apply for a job. They were like, there's this one job. And then I went through the process and I almost got it. And they were like, you know what? Here's this other job we think is even better for you. And that's the job I have today. So that's probably not the most typical path, but that's how I came to be in this fabulous role that I have today, which I started basically the month I launched my new social venture 2.5 years ago. So that was a busy month.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, so you took this day job, to pay the bills, and because it felt meaningful and because it was something, right? So a lot of folks in nonprofit work will find that you maybe have a side hustle or you do something else to pay the day job or to pay the bills. That's a day job, right? But
reverse.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and yeah, you didn't stick with like, hey, I'm going to do this by day for long, because then you immediately started something new. So talk about glitter, because glitter is awesome. And I'll just side note say that I got to hear our new mayor speak today, and the new platform, right, is focused on a safer, cleaner, greener
Clean and
Philly.
green.
Clean and green. So glitter is directly part of clean and green. So talk about glitter.
Wish it was direct. I mean, well,
Yeah, it should be directly.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. So I actually started working, this is so close to the edge, it's making me very anxious. So I started working on glitter actually indirectly over 5 years ago. I was the president of my civic association, and I would organize cleanups as part of our like kind of doing good in the neighborhood thing. And I was getting really frustrated with how ineffectual and inefficient this was, because I would spend tons of my free time begging people to show up on a Saturday morning. You get 8 people to show up, you clean 8 blocks, and then a week later they're all dirty again. And I'm like, well, that was not a good use of my time. And then I would research like the city's block captain program that's spending like over $500,000 every year organizing 2 cleanups a year across the city. And I'm like, well, why are we only doing 2 cleanups? Where's all that money going? And I don't see the end result we're all looking for, let alone the $52 million the city spends on direct services, picking up litter and trash and all of the dumping and all of that. So I was getting more and more frustrated the more I learned about what the city is and isn't doing to tackle this problem. And I was looking at my own efforts, and I basically was like, you know what? I think I could use Milk Crate to design an app where we could pay people to keep blocks clean, use the city as the funder, hire people in a similar capacity of the block captain program, but actually hold them accountable and incentivize them with compensation. That was the initial idea. And I approached the city with this idea. And as the president of my civic, I had a little bit of sway and connection, and I guess local entrepreneur, whatever. So I had some relationships there. They got excited about it. And for 2 years, I worked with Councilman Squilla and then Councilman Green and former Streets Commissioner Carlton Williams to draft this concept, put it in the budget, and it went in the budget, much to my surprise. It really was there, and yet that wasn't enough. And what I didn't learn or understand at the time is that while city council might draft the budget, the commissioners have basically sole discretion around how they actually spend their budgets, and they can just do whatever they want, including wasting your time for 2 years. So we didn't get the money. We didn't do the pilot. The pandemic hit. And my original hypothesis was Philadelphians would come after me with a pitchfork if I said, give me money so I can clean up the litter, because they'd say, we already give you money, except we give it to the city. It's called taxes. But when the pandemic hit, people were so angry at the state of the streets. I was like, this looks like a pain point screaming at me. Maybe I should like offer them a solution and hopefully they won't be mad at me. And people signed up. And it was a 3-month interview process for Life Science Cares as I'm launching this organization, and then they offer me the job right after I've launched the startup. So I've been doing both.
So I just got my block signed up for glitter, which I'm super excited about. So guys, glitter, as Morgan said, residents, me, I live in South Philly. It's amazing, except for the amount of trash on our street, unfortunately. So glitter sends somebody, a hired person, to clean my block for every week that I pay for, right? Talk about who you hire.
Yeah, so Glitter's model, we have kind of a social and an environmental impact goal. So we hire people with barriers to work, not exclusively because we get other applicants who are qualified as well. But I would say, I think it's like 60% of our cleaners right now have some sort of barrier to work. So formerly incarcerated, single parent, retiree, student, something like that. Maybe even more than that by now. We have 20 cleaners right now. We're cleaning almost 300 blocks a week. We have 1,000 people who are subscribed across the city. If you go to shareglitter.com and click on the map, you'll see pins on a map, and those are the dark purple are all the blocks that we're cleaning. If you click on the icon for the map marker, you'll be able to click on a link to that block's crowdfunding page. And basically how Glitter works is every block has its own crowdfunding page where an individual neighbor can raise their hand, make a pledge, and say, I can personally afford $20 or $50 towards the $200 a month it takes to get a block cleaned every week. Each block or each week is $50. So 50 times 4 is 200. So let's say Michelle pledged $50. She needs to go find another 150 between her neighbors. Maybe she can get 10 neighbors to each chip in $15. Now her block is fully subscribed. And so the names of Michelle and her neighbors, if they want it to be on there, all listed on that crowdfunding page, their pledge amount. And we do like updates with photos and things. And we're actually going to be upgrading that to make it more interactive and useful. But right now it's kind of like a static page that updates the subscribers. So it's like a very micro level crowdfunding system with a pay what you can contribution, and then we hire people with barriers to work. They're typically folks who live in the neighborhoods. They're often walking to work, bringing the equipment that we provide, and then they bag up the litter on the street. Typically a neighbor on the block will hold it. We'll clean up after the trash trucks come through, because that's typically the grossest day of the week. And then they'll put it out with next week's trash.
And you guys have thought of everything, because I heard about Glitter ages ago, right? And I was like, you know what? I've got to talk to my neighbors and figure out like if I can get them to chip in. Like I'll pay $50, but I need another 150. So I kept, when I met Morgan, I said like, I haven't done it yet. I'm going to do it. So I went on and I signed up and I said, this is what I'll pay each month. And then it's like, oh, here's a page for you. Oh, we can give you door hangers. We can make it really, really easy, right? So the design of what you guys have built makes it so easy, and it's so awesome because my block is clean and I don't have to do it, which is a huge plus. And somebody's making a living wage to do it, right? Which is, so it's like lots and lots of impact all around. So it's been pretty amazing. You talked about a couple of things that I want to touch on for entrepreneurship. I'm watching your time because you have to get 6:30.
No, it's loose now. We're fine. I trained earlier. So.
Oh, thank you. Okay. So you touched on a couple of things. One is you talked about the inspiration for Glitter came from something that frustrated you, right? So I think what we heard from some of the folks who pitched tonight is this idea of finding a need. So can you just talk about that a little bit? Like, how important is that, right? Finding a need of instead of just going out and saying, I want to do this, it's like, what problem are you solving? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I heard someone at another event kind of like this a few years ago that said, don't just, chase after a problem you want to solve. Find something that makes you truly angry. Like, what makes you angry? And I think that that's really good advice, because if you're not angry, you're probably not going to have enough energy to keep after it. And so for me, I'm from Philadelphia. I love this city, but I am angry about the way that this city is not functioning. And while I'm very hopeful that new administrations will finally see the light, I'm pessimistic. And so I'm angry enough that I'm going to keep doing it on my own, regardless of whether, the grownups who were supposed to have handled this many years ago haven't figured it out. So yeah, I guess that's kind of been my path, is like finding something that I'm really angry about and not letting go of it until I've like submitted it, which I guess that's the whole jujitsu thing. It's just submit.
Making things submit to you.
Yeah.
I like that. It's good. It's a good method. So yeah, I love that. The other thing you touched on, you started talking about all these trash facts, right? You're like, they spend $52 million and then they spend this. Talk about the importance of research and doing background understanding of the problem and of your solution and competitors for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel good when someone's like, cool, that's a great idea. You realize like 10 other people are already doing this much more than you've already achieved. Like, that doesn't feel good when you're like kind of caught off guard by having not done your research. So just from like an ego perspective, but also from a success perspective, like if you are putting all of this energy into starting from scratch, and then you realize many other people have already done that work for you. You could have gotten so much further along in this problem if you had done the work to actually understand what's already been achieved. I think one of the things that a lot of caring, maybe angry people who find a problem they want to tackle, a mistake they make is assuming they're the first one that has seen that problem or come up with that solution or both. And I think that you do yourself and the issue you care about a disservice by not maybe taking a slightly more humble approach and thinking like, who's already doing this? So like with glitter, my first instinct wasn't build a whole new, streets department, which is in a way like not really what we're doing, but my impulse was like, oh, I know how to use like tech and like psychology to like get people to maybe engage through gamification and through compensation to like do the thing you're doing but better. And that was what I initially started with. And I spent 2 years trying to make that work and learn about what was and wasn't working. And when that fell apart, that's what the like kind of pivot and rebirth that we have, the model that we have today. So I think that's like an example of like having a little humility to try and like be a partner to a solution and learn from that perspective, because I think you'll learn a lot more and get a lot further. And if that doesn't work out, then maybe you wind up pivoting and doing your own thing. But I think you'll get a lot further than if you're like in your little bubble, like, I'm brilliant, I've had this amazing insight, and I better just like do it by myself because no one can possibly be as brilliant as I am.
It's astonishing. I mean, I'm sure this happens in lots of cities. In Philadelphia, one of the things we run into when we look at nonprofits is how many nonprofits are doing the same thing, right? So it's like, hey, I had this amazing idea. I'm going to go start a nonprofit that works with kids. And you're like, cool, you and the 78,000 others, right? And it makes it really challenging for funding. So definitely do your research and understand like who else is out there, who else is doing it, who can I work with, who can I be part of. Maybe that means you take your vision to an existing organization and you help them do something better or differently, right?
Like get a job there.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Work there.
And getting jobs is great. It pays money. So it's good.
And you learn a lot, and you don't have to experience what it's like to have to like cut people's salaries and close a business.
Yeah, jobs are good. Yeah. So you also talked about, when you were looking at Milk Crate and going out and talking to everybody about these apps and talking to funders, everybody saying no. Talk about the need to be a self-advocate and tenacious. I mean, I think for like folks who presented today and then anybody else who's doing this kind of work or thinking about it, even if you're not starting a nonprofit, talk about like being your own advocate and how important that's been for you, or if it's been important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I had the privilege and I guess just incredible, unique opportunity that both of my parents were entrepreneurs. So I grew up seeing this as normal. Like I literally was like on stage with microphones and my mom with a camera pointed at her like my whole childhood. So I guess I got to see her going after what she wanted and being tenacious. So that really made it feel very normal. And I realized that that does not feel normal for most people. It probably doesn't even feel comfortable, but this is like weirdly comfortable for me. And so all I can say is like, just fake it till you make it, because it is a really important part. If this is what you want to do and you have an idea that you've been working on for a long time and you want to like see it through, like you have to reach out, ask for what you want. Actually, there was a young man tonight who came up to me and was like, I want to talk to you about my business. And like, he shook my hand, told me what he did, and he listened and like got my card. Like that is what you need to do. Because, often most people's disposition is they want to be helpful, but if you don't ask for help, then you're not giving them the chance. And I actually think of it as a gift. Asking for help gives someone the chance to be helpful. And that feels good for most people. So I don't think you should think about asking for something as like a transaction that's one directional. If you do it the right way and also give back when you can, you're actually, kind of putting a mitzvah out into the world for someone to be able to come back and be helpful to you.
I love that. That's so nice. It's so true though, right? Like
it's so like I try to do it in the right way so that I don't feel guilty when I ask for something, especially if what you're trying to do is like doing something good for the world and you do it in an appropriate, thoughtful way, and you also go out of your way to help others. Like I'm pretty sure the karmic balance is good for me. So like I just keep asking for help when I need it.
Love that. I love that. So maybe you've covered it, but if you're starting all these new things, and I think lots of folks have ideas, whether it's social impact, whether it's wanting to start a side hustle. When you want to start something new, when you get these ideas, how do you know where to start? Or what advice would you give people on like, where in the world do I even start, right?
Well, I think this goes back to the idea of like get a job or like go find the other organizations that already exist that are doing it. Like that's really what I did. I mean, I was like tripping over trash and I was like, all right, well, the city says the block captain program's the solution. So I'm going to go call Dawn Woods who runs that program. So like, and then I interviewed her and was kind of disappointed in what I learned and then. So I would just say like, that's the first step is like, find out who's already supposedly solving the problem and get to know them and see how closely you can work with them to better understand the gaps, either their gaps, the processes gaps, the organization's gaps, see how you can help fill them, acknowledge that you by yourself are probably not the sum total solution, but maybe you can play a part in filling some of those gaps. That would be my advice.
That's great. Thank you. Guys, do you have any questions that you want to ask Morgan before we wrap up? Got one there.
Center City District. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yep. Is there a question? I agree. Well, first of all, I feel for you. I lived in a community that was equally covered in trash, and I know how horrible that feels, and it's why I do what I do. And you brought up about 12 different systemic issues that we could talk for hours about infrastructure, trash cans, how we pick up trash, who has access to trash cans, landlords that carve up a building so that there's nowhere to actually store trash. Like there's all these issues. And then there's culture and people's habits and not, I haven't seen any studies that show embarrassment is the path, but if there are some, I would love to see it. Something we've noticed is when we do clean a block, the amount of litter we start picking up over time goes down. I think changing the norm has shown to make things better. It's showing the block that there is a better way and we have it right now. And if you want to keep it, like this is the new standard. So that's something that we've seen, but there are infrastructure issues and there are culture issues. And, we want to eventually address both. There's also something else that I thought you were going to point to, but there's an equity issue around what we do, right? Like even $5 a month could be a challenge, especially in neighborhoods up in like deep North Philly. Like that's where we have not, if you go on our map, you're going to see there's like a big empty space on our map, and that's North Philly. We have grown completely organically through word of mouth up until this date. But actually, it kind of became public this week in a way. We have our first grant-funded initiative where we are going to be cleaning for free for the period of almost a year, starting with 5 fully subsidized months and then a kind of tiered down 335 blocks in Germantown and Mount Airy, so Northwest Philly, where there's been gun violence. Yes, well, thank you, state of Pennsylvania, because they were doing, they've been doing this funding for gun violence intervention programs, and we partnered with Mount Airy and Germantown CDCs, and we got almost $1 million grant to be able to do this work. So we're going to be more than doubling like this spring, and we actually posted a job description yesterday for a program manager for that work. We're going to be hiring a program manager. We hope they will eventually become a full-time part of our team, and our first full-time team hire besides our cleaners and myself and my partner, and then about a dozen more cleaners. But that is our first real attempt at trying to tackle like the equity issue, but it's only a step because when the funding runs out, we're hoping neighbors will chip in, but we're not sure what's going to happen when we go into intentionally a neighborhood that we haven't been in before. So we have a lot of work to do to figure out how to make this sustainable. I'm hoping the city will be a partner in that. We've been reaching out ad nauseum over the last year and kind of just waiting, hoping someone will call us back at this point.
The new contract's amazing. That's really the grant. It's really amazing. Like there have been so many things that have shown that clean areas help decrease violence rates. That's incredible. Congrats. Guys, thank you so much. Give Morgan a hand. Doing amazing work for our city. We're so grateful to have you. We're so lucky to have Morgan in Philly, right? Like this is what we need to change our city. Thank you, thank you. I think, are the judges back, guys? Or do you want me to do a little dancing or are we solid? I mean, I will.
Hi, folks. This keeps dying. Sorry for our YouTube people. My name is Neil Johnston. I serve as the director of programs here at the IEI. Thank you all so much for coming. We are going to get to the awards in just a little bit, but I did want to share that our next pitch competition, the 26th annual Be Your Own Boss Poll, the submission portal is live. So for those of you that presented this evening, if you would like to enter our next competition, that is here. For those of you in attendance, we would love for you to enter as well. And even if you just want to come at the end of April and see some amazing pitch submissions, we would love to have you back in our space. So thank you again to everybody for coming. You can scan the QR code. I will get out of the way so that you can actually see it. I'll give it one more second before turning it back over to Alan. The event is on April 24th. Submissions are due March 20th. Thank you. Test, test. There we go. Okay. All right, Alan. I can do that. Yeah. I'll tell you which is which.
Okay, before we announce the winners, I do want to give a shout out to all of our student workers who have been helping tonight go seamlessly, and also to the young lady controlling everything, Emily Hart, who's turning a nice shade of red right now. But Emily's our event person and basically orchestrated this whole event. Why don't the judges come up and sit and relax? So first, I do just want to recognize all 8 of the finalists, 4 in the undergrad track, 4 in the upper track. They all did an outstanding job, and the judges had a very hard time selecting the winners. So let's give a hand to all the presenters. So, second place in the undergrad track is Helping Hearts of Youth, Maria Sharman. And by the way, we will be doing pictures later, so congratulations. Second place for the upper track is E-Lighting. Elasting. Ah, close. So at this point, I am going to call up Jeff Conradi of Cyber to announce the Global Innovation Award winner.
Thanks, everybody. My name is Jeffrey Conradi. I work in the International Programs and Cyber Office here at the Fox School of Business. Several years ago, we added a Global Innovation Prize to the competition. So everybody has the opportunity to, both written and through their presentation, think through the true global impact of their idea. Today I was joined by co-judge Rebecca Petit-Frere, who is social entrepreneur and teacher at Mastery Charter School. It's a very difficult decision. Congratulations to all of the submissions, and congratulations to the winner of this year's Global Innovation Prize, Alexander Zanders from UFarmX.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
We'll get you your certificate, I promise.
And first place in the undergraduate track is Norport, Taylor Vecchioni. And first place in the upper track is UFarmX. And the People's Choice Award, as voted on by you and everyone on YouTube, is Norport. And now the grand prize winner, drum roll. Very good. All right, the grand prize winner is Bite Brave. Okay, so that concludes our festivities. The award winners will be coming up for pictures. There is still plenty of food, so enjoy the food, network, and I would thank all of you for your support of our social impact efforts and urge all of you to be the change and to make the world a better place. Thank you.